What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thank you guys tuning in another episode of Expert Mentors Live. We have the queen in the house with us. V, what is up? How are you doing?
Hi, super excited to be here.
It's always great to have you. And I know you're in such a whirlwind with everything going on and traveling the world and being able to carve out some time to jump in here and really pour back into this amazing community. Episode 296, I had Kyle on 295, and Kyle and Dan were the reason that we even started the Expert Mentor series and really pushing. So it's been an honor to run with this since 2018, I think, is when we kicked off Expert Mentors Live. So being able to stay with it and incredible conversations, and it's fun to look back, over those previous, especially as we're coming up on like episode 300 and thinking about, the previous episodes and the conversations, but the amount of amazing talent and just individuals and rock stars and those that just want to give back. And it's just so cool to see that over the years, but also what's happening now and moving into the future, right? So you look back, even just reflecting over the previous 6 months of this year, we're at halftime, and I always love to think about the year as really like a sporting event, right? You got the 4 quarters, you have your game plan coming into Q1 and Q2. You're going to get maybe punched in the mouth a little bit, or you got some good momentum, but you get into halftime and it's time to assess and kind of see where you're at. So looking back over your first 6 months of the year, which has been incredible. A few rock stars have moved over because of you, and really just interesting to see as you think about the first 6 months of this year to where we're at and looking forward into the future, what kind of reflecting, kind of what are your thoughts, but then what are you excited about us moving into, the rest of this year?
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the consistency and bringing so much value to the community, with not just expert mentors, but everything you guys do. You guys are just truly so special. And thank you for allowing me over the last 6 years to, be a part of this dream. I'll never forget the first time I met you, and you've always just been such a great leader. So thank you for everything you do. And yeah, I mean, it is beautiful to reflect back the last 6 months. It's been crazy. I just celebrated 6 years at EXP, and it feels like I just got here.
God dang, it feels like we were in Key West last week.
Yeah, I know. And I look back on like not just the last 6 months, but the last 6 years. And, I have had the time to look back and say, what have I learned along this journey at EXP? And, the last 6 months, game changer. Like, who would have thought that Spring Benson would have, joined EXP, right? People would have said like, that's
never going to happen.
Or Via Williams, has been a dream of mine to be in business with these ladies, right? But, all of that has happened because of everything that happened at the previous years, right? That we were laying the foundation, the talent that was being built here, the people that were seeing the vision before others could see it. And you guys laid such a great foundation. But when this year kicked off, I was like, this is the year. Everything changes. Everything changes. This is EXP 2.0. We've got the receipts. The narrative has changed. We're controlling our story. EXP is stronger than ever with Leo at the helm of this. And, the talent that we have here, the leadership that we have here, the marketing glow up, the talent that has joined this co-sponsorship. I was like, let's go. Yeah. So for me, I was like, now what do we do with this? Now we have a responsibility to pour gasoline on this, right? One big fire here, guys. Let's go. The phone doesn't stop ringing. The curiosity is there now more than ever. Like, hey, I'm watching what you guys are doing. Yeah. I got a text today, actually last night, from Byron Lazine from BAM Media, obviously. Yeah. Like, hey, Leo's going to be on BAM Barbecue, which I've been on one of the BAM media talks not too long ago with Alex Hormozy and Sharon was on it. And it was crazy. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. That's so awesome. He texted me last night, and this is what he said, which I thought was a really great summary. As we think about how far we've come as a company, and just the narrative has truly changed. He says, "Hey V, let your peeps know about Bam Barbecue tomorrow. Leo will be on." Comments have been so positive for him and EXP lately, really impacting narrative. And I think that we need to look back, and you said game film, right? And we've won some championships, but we've lost some games. But what happens when we take an L, we should go back and reassess. What you saw at the beginning of the year was from the previous year getting my ass kicked. I lost some people. I went through a personal hardship that, my mom got sick with cancer. And when I was down is when you usually get kicked harder, right? Then I lost some people that were like, "Hey V, we're gonna go to this copycat that's a little bit easier." And I'm like, wait, we were supposed to do this dream together, right? And things just started shifting. And then I had a moment to say, okay, you get to decide how you want to design this. You get to decide what the next inning is going to look like, what the next championship is going to look like. Are you going to go in with your head down, or are you going to do what you do? Are you going to use this as an opportunity to level up? Where do you need to improve? Where can you be a better leader? Where are your blind spots? And what is the limited belief that you're telling yourself that, we lost the game?
Yeah.
It's over. Who said? It's just a game, right?
Yeah.
Now it's time to go back and get better. So I remember when I was down, John, and things were like, we were feeling like we were getting our ass kicked. Can I say that, right?
100%.
A few years ago, we were starting to feel
yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to lie. I said, well, somebody's got to go do something about this. I was like, who are we going to call? Who are we going to go get? And what are we going to do? And that's where I literally was just kind of having a relationship with myself and God. And, I was talking to myself, and then, I was praying to God about like my mom's situation. And I said, God, if you just save my mom's life, I'll be super obedient. I'm God, which I shouldn't do, but I was like, what we do. And I said, and I was like, and whatever you put on my heart, I'm going to do. But I'm telling you, one thing that I used in my affirmation and my gratitude was how grateful I was for EXP, that I was able to spend time with my mom when she was sick. And it gave me the peace of mind to just be able to be present in that transition of my life, which I think sometimes we forget. It's not just about the money, it's about the moments that we get. Yeah. And I'll never forget when I lost some partners, and I was sitting there feeling deflated because I didn't know what the answers were to my mom. And I was feeling like I couldn't help my friends. I couldn't help the company. And I was getting my own personal ass kicked. I remember God said, you should call Spring. I was like literally laughing. I'm like, that's silly. And it was really like the voice was there.
Yeah.
And called her. I said, we should do dinner. I have a lot of respect for you, and I'll fly out to Utah and let's chat. I was like, I got a crazy idea. And I'll never forget. I also told her, I was like, I'm in a place where I'm just following my faith and following my heart. And I don't care if I get the door closed on me. I don't care if I get laughed at. I don't care if I get, if I get rejected. I'm honoring my calling to just be someone that is, going to go out there and lead the way. Yeah. And, it was pretty fun to see the fruits of all that happen in January. And then this year kick off with so much momentum. And then, talent after talent after talent after talent after talent, not just me, everybody was winning. It was kind of like this celebration of just energy and so many wins for all my friends at this company. And the talent that just kept on coming, that keeps on coming in a moment that I think really shows us a lot. Like, we don't give up. We keep going, right? And you got to take those moments and learn from them. And then you come up with a design that we can redesign this. Like, we really, truly can. And I'm having more fun at the company than I've had in a long time. And it wasn't that I lost the love for the company, but it just got fun again, right? We got to, it got a little crazy for a little bit, but it's crazy when you're having fun. Now the energy is just completely shifted. Just came back from 6 weeks in what do you call it?
Over in Europe.
In Europe.
Traveling. Yeah.
seeing the global movement, seeing everything that is happening in global, that's been super exciting. I mean, helping open up some countries. I'm actually in some of those conversations. So like the
That's awesome.
momentum is just a
Yeah.
lot. It's really, really cool. So the future is we're running, man. We,
Yeah.
talk to Jay all the time. We've got more appointments back to back to back to back. And it's really more appointments with leaders who are saying during this kind of market,
Mhm.
this is why we're here.
Yeah.
This is why we signed up for this. It wasn't for when it was an easy market. And I've always said that I was a franchise owner, so I understand this. When I joined EXP, it was like if we go to war, I need to be around some real strong soldiers, and that's
Mhm.
what I felt like. And now the future is like
Yeah.
it's exciting.
It's crazy. Had the did the Seattle rally with Jacob and Elizabeth Weaver, and obviously being in Seattle, easy for Glenn to come down. So Glenn and Debbie were there, and we did a VIP the night before the rally. Just first class all the way. The venue was first class, and being able to have that, and we did a little rapid fire session. Had Kendall on the panel as
Mhm.
well, but I asked Glenn, because I'm a very big vision guy, and being for most of my career being number two in command, right, and always being there in that leadership but support type role. Vision is super important, right? Because if you lose the vision, then your talent, if they don't see the vision, then they don't believe they can accomplish their dreams by being a part of it. And I had felt with the transition with Glenn, before we came over in 2017, EXPCon Fort Lauderdale in 2017, there was 400 people there, and they just celebrated 4,000. And
Yeah.
that's when I met Glenn for the first time, Glenn and Jason, and we got to listen to the vision. And, then get to see it play out, in 18 and 19 and 20, just get to see everything that Glenn shared with us in 2017 in that back room of the hotel at EXPCon in Fort Lauderdale, and seeing everything play out. So I asked Glenn, I was like, on the panel, right in front of everybody, I was like, I got a question. And, I said, reminded Glenn of that story, and he shared the vision. And I said, what's the vision now? What's the vision moving forward? And, in typical Glenn, fashion, and being able to articulate it. And he just said, I believe, 300,000 plus,
Yeah.
active agents. And he said, the only way we can get there is global.
Yeah.
And so just really cool seeing an emphasis on, the global market and what we're able to do with, the power of the best business model for real estate, the best business platform out there. And we're seeing it, right? Because you're seeing people that are testing the other
Yeah.
models, and they're coming back. Had a great conversation with Mary Murphy yesterday. I had her on the podcast, and I'd coached Mary for many years, and they just accelerated. I love what she's doing. I mean, they live in Arizona and live in life by design, that they designed that life, and they still run a successful team out of Jersey. And so anything's possible in this business. And the thing that she said, why she came back,
Yeah.
was rooted into the values of this organization. And she's like, the problems that were problems or issues or challenges and why I left were enough noise to be corrected. And they were corrected. They were changed. They were fixed. And I said, yeah, go back to the values of this organization. It's all about the agents first. It's all about being agile. But my favorite one, V, that I've latched onto with this company that I have 100% belief in is the core value of sustainability. I know at my core, every decision that is being made is for the sustainability of this company. And I've seen it so many times that I don't question it anymore.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. And I was on a call with Leo last week when I was away, and I asked him the same thing about the vision, right? Because I have the privilege of being able to just kind of sometimes have an opportunity to talk, and he did he talked about where global's going, but Glenn is very bullish on AI right now and efficiency, and Leo has his leadership meetings with, his team, and he reminds them, like right now it's all about, again, how are we helping the agents win? How are we being scalable? How are we scalable? How are we sustainable? And I told Leo, I was like, man, you know what? It's so really cool is that you have an army of people that believe in your mission. We'll run through a brick wall, building or wall with you guys, and we understand that you're going to have to make some changes as a company evolves, right? But like what they're investing in us as well is pretty cool. When I was in Spain from stage, I mean, Glenn offered, gave he basically, well, they did two things. They had a mastermind where Seth from, the chief technology officer, I believe is, I forgot Seth's title, or AI officer, sat there with the top producing agents and helped them build out prompts and bots. And, they built websites. They worked together as a group to come up with concepts and building what, on Lovable. And Glenn was investing in us.
Yeah.
He believes in us as the agents first. And he was like, look, I want to arm you guys with more tools so that you guys can be successful. But watch what's happening. He says, AI, right? Lean into it. He says, because this is a tool that we know businesses are using and you guys need to use it as well. And we're going to continue to push forward with the AI to remain sustainable, and to stay forward thinking. And it was really cool to see him taking time to also teach us the tools, right? The resources. He says, even if you're an agent that's never even touched technology, written code, he was like, this is where we're going. He says, we want you guys to come along the way with us. And this is how we're breaking into countries. They were able to launch a country, Ecuador, with, they had the biggest launch ever. It got leaked that that the country leader was leaving Remax. Remax started to call all the agents, trying to shut them down.
Sure.
Then their website, what was supposed to happen, everything broke. And the global team was able to launch a country with 200 agents on board them and get everything done after, it got leaked. It got advanced 2 weeks sooner because they had to. And it was all through leveraging the power of technology, obviously AI, some of the tools that Glenn and them, and told his team, he's like, we can build it. Let's do it. And it's pretty impressive to see what's happening in the future. I would say this as we move into the future and how Glenn continues to be that brilliant leader, right? And I love when Glenn's in the think tank. I'm like, keep him in the think tank, guys. It's so brilliant. And it's really cool when he has fun. You see him, he's having a little bit of fun. And it's cool to see him also with a running mate like Leo and Felix. Man, it gives you a pep in your step. And Wendy's doing, some great things with the marketing as far as the glow up there too. So it's cool to see the direction that the company's going and how they are putting us first still. And it's, like I said, what Byron said, people are noticing, and it teaches us. So I'm going back to my team and saying, how can I, because I still run a team, and, my team is a high production, we've been known for high production, and I'm like, but what's next? Like we've looked at everything. What are the expenses that we have? Who are our B players? We want to be around people who are embracing and leaning into the way of the future. And, I think I mentioned to you previously, we're building a culture center, right? I have an office, Gil had an office, and we're like, hey, dude, like, why don't we bring our energies together, right? And work in areas that we as leaders can come together and make sure that we help our agents be more productive, whether they're an agent on a team, build an ecosystem where they have all the best teams surrounded by them. And, every team has a different flavor. How are we, learning from, the past 6 years? How can we build retention and community within our local market to support with co-sponsorship and all the things that we're doing? But it's really, really cool to say, like, we get to now evolve with the company and, also learn from Leo and Glenn. And for us, I think you had asked me earlier, what's next for you guys? Dude, I think we can get to at least, gosh, it's pretty freaking cool. But I think our organization locally and with co-sponsorship and supporting these agents, I think we'll have probably about I don't even know how many have right now, but 1,000 more agents locally coming together.
Yeah.
because of what we're doing when we're bringing our energies together and teaching these agents how to build a business from our previous life, our previous experience, and,
Yeah.
and now growing together with these resources.
Yeah. I mean, I think you even 1,000, even in that the whole Orlando area might even be a little low. I
Yeah.
think you guys could even push that just with the amount of leadership and talent and the right message. And I think the biggest thing, right now as we were, it's great, right? Some have momentum and being able to ride. EXP has momentum. We're bringing in a lot of big heavy hitters, but as you're still communicating with the agents on day in and day out, right? There's a tremendous amount of fear in the marketplace. This is, I mean, you've been in the game long enough, the ebbs and flows and the amount of headwind that we're really facing within the market itself. Obviously one of my dear friends, Blake Sloan's in Myrtle Beach, and just hearing kind of their statistics and stuff, I'm like, holy smokes, right? And obviously all of our friends and agents and everybody up in Canada and, just the market conditions, homes are still selling, of course. Yeah, that's the case, but there's still a little bit of element of fear in the marketplace. How are you like conveying, what's the message? How are you, really, emphasizing them to move from fear and move into action and not become paralyzed by it?
Yeah. I mean, we talk to our agents every single day about this, right? We are, you know, we're a realist. We know listings are sitting a little bit longer, right? But like yesterday, we're having an appraisal class to teach, teaching our agents, like, look, this is where skill, you really got to sharpen up your skill. And that skill is going to give you that confidence, right? To be able to have those conversations with sellers more, this is more than just marketing. This is more than just putting a sign in the yard. This is about, are you serious about selling in this market?
Right.
These are the conversations we have to have. And if you feel a little, kind of like nervous about having those conversations, leverage the leadership that you have here. So we're role playing these conversations a lot. I'm helping them understand that, hey, creative finance, there's so many conversations that you have to have at the listing appointment now that, I mean, the conversation is different at the listing appointment right now.
100%.
Conversation has to be different because it's not sexy to have a bunch of stale listings, right? Though, when I was listing homes, 75 to 100 homes a year by myself, my little system, my rinky dinky broken system, it was in a market where properties were sitting.
Yeah.
So I had to have a winning Wednesday conversation with my sellers to talk about strategy. So at the listing appointment, it was always like, we're going to set you up with the best strategy to help you win in this market. And if every Wednesday we're going to determine, are we set up to win in for the next, to sell your home? And if we don't come out the gate strong, then we got to continue to, we got to talk about it. But
100%.
the conversations at the initial listing and the initial appointment or consultation or whatever it is that you want to call it is like, we're going to have these conversations. If we don't, like, we can avoid them. And these are all the things we can do avoid, but certain things that are out of our control. But leaning into the fact. So when I'm talking to my agents, I'm like, you just got to have the mindset that you are the expert, right? We're here on Expert Mentors, right? You are the expert. You are here to coach them. You are here to guide them and have these conversations that are really important because there are people that need to sell right now. And I love Jill Biggs's. She's going viral right now with her billboard. My team sold 525 homes. Your cousin sold 2 last year. List responsibly. And as a team, we tell our agents, like, leverage the team credibility, right? You leverage the team. Do not go on a listing appointment without one of our listing experts to, mentors to be there for you.
Because there's so many things in the conversations on the front end that have to happen. If not, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's funny, I loved what you said, V, that I want everybody to make sure that they catch. So there's this kind of this axis of where we find flow, right? You'll resonate with this, right? Because we know when we get into a state of flow, and where flow happens for us is when our capabilities, our skills are in alignment to the challenge at hand, right? And when the challenge is really low, that's where we tend to get bored. But when the challenge is here, but our skill is not where it needs to be, that's where we fall into anxiety. That's where we start to develop the anxiety and the stress. And so what you said that I just want to emphasize and make sure everybody heard is that if you're feeling that anxiety is because the challenge in the market has changed. And if you don't have the skill set to match it, then that's where you're going to find a lot of trouble. That's where you've got to improve the skill set to get back into that flow to where it feels easy. It's not easy. I mean, you're doing the work, but it does feel easy. It just feels like you're kind of going through the motions. And I think that's what, I love what you said a little bit earlier, why you're re-energized, because you have this massive skill set that's built for this tough market. And it was getting kind of easy and you're kind of getting kind of bored.
I mean, I'm
challenges.
Jacked about it, because when agents don't realize, if you take on all these listings that are like, let's just say overpriced, sellers are not realistic. We're talking about sign costs, photos, the anxiety of having to have that conversation with them because you knew you took an overpriced listing anyways. You shouldn't have taken it. You didn't get to the real core root of why they need to sell. Right. But, when I'm talking to my agents, I'm like, we want to work, there's a qualification process to work with us right now. Like that's how serious we are about who we're going to work with. And when you can separate yourself to say, to have that confidence to say, like, we got to determine if we're a match, Mr. Seller, like right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to take people are going to be like, wait, how many people are you interviewing? You're going to see a lot more people. It's way more than just, the dancing videos. Right now it's going to have to be, like you said, that conversation of course, those hard conversations, sharpening your skills, having the best marketing strategy. But I am having fun in this market.
Hell yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun in this market. I was looking at our numbers where, here's the thing. I'll always be known. And I take this, Jay and I've talked about this, and it's kind of like a lot of pressure. Oh, V, you'll always be known as the girl that sold 2,200 homes in 1 year, blah, 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 blah. But the reality, John, like that's not. I mean, we talked about sustainability earlier. Yeah, I could do it again, but I know the formula. I don't know if I want to, right? Yeah. But, even in a bad market, even in a tough market, we're on track to sell 532 homes this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Looked at the numbers yesterday. We're at the halfway point. Looked at everything that's pending. We're on track, give or take. Even if we cross 475, 500, when was that a thing prior to, the recent years, right? To sell 400 or 500 homes is a lot of families to serve.
I can tell you what 500 homes to get you top 10 in the world at Coldwell Banker. I can tell you exactly what that gets you.
But just knowing that we have the reps in and the reps. And
it's so awesome. Yeah.
And the reps. I was telling agents yesterday, when we were talking to them, I was like, this is where really great real estate agents are born in this market. Mm-hmm. Really good agents. So, we're doing Monday motivational. Like, they get Mindset Monday with me every Monday. I don't care where I'm at in the country. I host that every Monday. I get their mindset ready for the week. We celebrate the wins. We talk about the challenges. We talk about real life stories and where we're going. Every Tuesday, all right, let's talk about any challenges in your database. We're leveraging AI. We're investing in tools and resources to give our agents back some time to focus on the tasks that matter, right? Reminding them that, guys, the most important thing that you should be doing right now is having more conversations, right? More conversations with clients, buyers, and sellers who are really, really, really committed over the next 60 to 90 days, right? To take action.
Yeah.
To take some sort of action. It doesn't mean that if they're not ready in 60, 90 days, you're going to abandon them. You're just properly going to prioritize them. Okay. And you're going to spend your time getting to know what's happening, obviously, around your area, your market. You got to be that neighborhood expert. Wednesdays, we say, bring us any challenges that you have on contracts. Like, you're not the only one. Come on these calls because you're going to hear from your peers that you're not the only one going through some of these things, and you can learn from your peers. So you ask, how do you keep them in the game so that they know that they're not failing.
The beautiful thing, kind of what you're breaking down there, V, is you're not allowing people to disappear. You're kind of like, show up. Right. We're going to have the necessary conversations throughout the cadence of the week, but you got to show up. You can't. And it's it's not allowing them to just disappear. I always think of like the Homer Simpson meme where he disappears into the shrubs. You just can't let them, because they will, right? If you don't keep them engaged, they'll just fade away.
VP of Ops is here. So we track everything. How many team meetings did you come to? How many huddles did you attend? And then if they're not meeting the standard, we have a plan where we're reaching out. We have a pulse check. Hey, let's talk about this. Currently not meeting probably the standards of the team. We're going to put you on a 30-day performance plan because we want you to be successful. Where do you want your income level to remain? Do you want it to stay the same? Do you want it to improve? Do you want to just survive? And, like we need, and some right now, even if it's just paying your bills, right? So we're having these conversations with our agents, but it's like, we have steps for them to follow, for them to be successful. Like, look, if you follow this, I know it's going to get tough, but you got a community of people here that are doing it with you. Let's celebrate the wins. We're not measuring you because, you may not have a kick-ass quarter. We're measuring you and holding you accountable because that's why you partnered with us, to help you celebrate the process and help you understand, like, you're putting in the reps. You're putting in the reps. Okay? That's all you got to do. Man, I just had a girl come back to our team. She left EXP. She went to LPT. She got on a team that offered a better split on flex and all this other stuff. And you had, every once in a while you have that little mass exodus to my fellow team leaders. And, she came back. She just did a post today. Shout out to Tamara. She did a post today. She's got, I believe a total of 9 either pending, just listed, sold in the last 30 days.
It's freaking awesome. And kudos to her, right? For not letting her ego get in the way of the goals that she wanted to achieve, because a lot of people just too prideful that they wouldn't even come back. They wouldn't even admit, right? So that shows just the type of person that she is.
In the office yesterday, I'm walking, I'm listening to my team. We're having the appraisal workshop. In comes Eric Maganda, young cat, love him to death. He's super sweet, was on our team, started his career with us, left, came back. I mean, he's a killer. He's a killer. He's walking in with 3-4 lock boxes that he just took off the list. And he's like, I just came from another showing. He's all sweaty. We're high-fiving. And he's another comeback story, right? But what he said to me, he's like, Vero, this is the market that you need to be surrounded by people that will show you the way. And the way is not necessarily a magic pill. It's that will show you what it takes to be a true professional in this market. He says, we're constantly putting ourselves in opportunities to have more conversations, to have more at-bats, to learn, to educate. I tell them, it is your responsibility to be an expert. I could just only lead you a certain way. I can't think for you. But if you stick around long enough, you will be a badass. And I just love hearing these comeback stories, right? The humility within them. I've got more people on my team that I think most people have that are comeback stories.
Yeah.
And it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. And that's energizing from a leadership perspective to see the growth in them, right? Sometimes they have to, you have to let them go to see if they'll come back, right? Because they have to learn and they have to see those things. So yeah, it's super cool.
Not everyone qualifies to come back, but the door's always
open.
Always.
V, you are absolutely amazing. Definitely an absolute inspiration. As we wrap up here, just kind of final thoughts, for team leads, for agents that, are they're committed, but just looking for that extra little push. What's the message?
Team leaders, I love your shirt, right? Man in the arena.
That's it.
I want to say, like, get in the arena. Like, we need to be in the arena. Like, I'm having more recruiting conversations. I'm having more coaching conversations, leadership conversations. I'm picking up the phone and calling.
Right there.
I am calling people. Hey, how are you doing? How are you? How's business treating you right now? Are you aligned with your goals? Like, how can I support you? Even if they're not at our company, if it's on the other side of the transaction, that is prime for the pickings for you to recruit. Prime for the pickings. People need leadership right now. They are thirsty for it, and they will welcome that call. I called one of my friends this morning just to check in on her. She's an independent broker, and she just launched an expansion team in North Florida. She says, Coach V, you guys don't know it, but she's the first person you guys are going to hear for. So I didn't even know I was going to speaker. She says, can you give this amazing team some words of inspo? And here's what I said. Right, obviously I encouraged them, but at the end I said, relationships matter more than ever now. You never know who you're going to bless, and you're one relationship away from the rest of your life changing. This woman is not even at our brokerage, but we have been friends for so many years. And the way we can serve our people right now is just show up for people, even if you don't have the outcome that you want right now. Like, just be a good human being to your peers too in this industry, because people need to just get some encouragement through positive relationships. It's already tough out there. Go bless somebody.
I love that. Perfect way to wrap this up. V, you're amazing. And I do agree. Relationships are more important than ever. And let's go engage and have some.
Love you, brother.
Awesome. Love you. We'll see you. See you guys.